week off, welcome into the 90 Plus 2 podcast. I'm St.Jean. That is Jeremy Striano. And this is the crossroads between pundits and fans. We're aspiring soccer journalists who have a love for the game. And it's our starting point firmly into the double digits on episode 11. Jeremy, after the week off, how are we holding up?
11. I'm doing okay. You know, I don't know what people like. People don't know the schedule that you and I have and our classmates have. It is intense, man. Like
Yeah.
intense is like to say the least. But glad that we're back. We have some time. We have a little window before Sammy's got to go out and be a camera operator. But we have a quick little episode because we got some important news and probably one of, if not the most important fixture coming up in the entire calendar year for the sport of football. So this should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. This is gonna be a teaser, I think, of what the show is gonna look like until soccer starts again. Just because it's gonna be mostly conversations about transfers and rumors and etc. So this is gonna be a little bit of a teaser jumping into that kind of more style and hopefully incorporating more interviews depending on the schedules that we're gonna have. Because once we finish up this summer, we're both going into some internships and then kind of our first professional job. So we're going to be hopefully ironing out those situations, and then the schedule will look a little better as we get into that. But I guess it's time to jump in. So we'll start now with the Champions League. Where else should we start? So it's going to be Man City, Inter Milan, the final game of the season across all of Europe. Obviously, the MLS will still be going on, which we will touch on in a little while for very obvious reasons. But I guess I'll kind of start, Jeremy. I want to hear your general takeaway about both Man City and then Inter Milan this season. What has kind of been your gut reaction to them throughout the course of this season, starting with Man City and then Inter Milan?
So for Man City, they have proved me wrong every single time because I've always said that there have been other teams better. Like I can recall two teams that I said that were better than Manchester City. One was Bayern, and they shut them up, and the other was Real Madrid, and they shut them up as well. So maybe I will say that Man City will win so that we can see an upset of Inter Milan. But no, I do think we'll get into predictions once we're done with this. But in terms of Man City, they've just proved themselves that they are the best team on paper and on the field. When you look at their lineup that they play out, it's so impressive, right? Their midfielder three of De Bruyne, Rodri, and Gundogan, which is really what they have been playing for the majority of the season, has been impeccable. And when you look at a midfield three like Madrid, the only opposition between those midfielder trios is age. I think the Real Madrid midfield has the potential to be as good as the Man City midfielder trio in a year or two down the line. And with the addition of someone that we'll get into later, it only gets stronger. But in terms of Man City, I think the only word I can describe them as a team is just complete. I think they're a complete team head to toe. You can give a little bit of a question mark to Ederson between the sticks, but you can argue that they're one elite goalie away from being one of the most complete teams ever. But Ederson is no schlub in my opinion. He has a great team in front of him, sure. I think there's better goalies better than Ederson? Yeah, I think so, but that's really not the point of debate here. They're a complete team, and they're gonna prove that once again, I think, this weekend. For Inter Milan, I can't call them a Cinderella because they don't fit that mold to me. Yeah, they're a bit of a shocker. Like I personally thought that AC would go through, but when you look at the Serie A this year, Serie A was a bit of a question mark when you looked at everything below number one. Right, it was Napoli's season. They controlled their own destiny. Now they came up short in European play, but they'll be back next year. And there's a lot of question marks with them, with rumors of Kim Min Jae leaving and Victor Osimhen leaving. But for Inter Milan, it's just like who's going to step up, and they have guys on their team that can step up day in and day out. Some days it's Barella, some days it's the veteran leadership of Edin Dzeko, and then when you have a goalie, I know he's been in a lot of trouble, but again, Andre Onana is an elite goalkeeper, and you need in today's world of soccer, I think goalkeeper is slept on, and I think the position of goalie is so, I don't know if it's underrated. Um, but for the main takeaway for Inter Milan is someone can step up at any other day. And I'll be interested to see who gets them on the board if they do get on the board on Saturday.
Yeah, I think my first direct response to that is about Man City, and it's just their lineup. I think the complete thing really does ring. It's just where is their hole? Where
Right.
are they vulnerable? And you point to potentially goalkeeper with Ederson, but I feel like the only reason Ederson gets flack is because he doesn't face a lot of shots.
Right.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and and by not a lot of shots is because he's not facing a lot of shots. Most of the shots he gets are tough shots. He just like because teams can't waste their opportunities against Man City, so they have to focus and try to be more clinical. And the other thing is he gets the comparison to Alisson, and although I think his FIFA goalkeeper card is the worst thing that's ever graced the land of FIFA, I think it's a disaster. In real life, Alisson is probably the best goalkeeper in the world right now. At least got his hat in the ring for it. It's a tough comparison to make, being the two top Brazilian goalkeepers in the Prem. So I think he just gets a tough shake because he's compared to Alisson. I also think Rodri's gotten a tough shake this season because he's been compared to Casemiro. And they have had, in general, I would say similar performances this season, but Casemiro has been a revelation and changed what Man U's done. So he's gotten a lot more hype and love because of the change he's been able to provide to Manchester United versus Rodri doing the same thing consistently and very well for a couple of years now. So I think he gets a little bit of a cold shoulder, I think, in just terms of love as a central defensive midfielder because of the kind of credit that certain other DMs have gotten this season. Even the love that Thomas Partey at times has gotten this season has overshadowed what maybe Rodri deserves in terms of credit. When we're looking at Inter Milan, if you go back to episode 3 and you listen to our Champions League predictions, we both had them losing to Benfica. So I think that should just tell you one that we are terrible.
We don't know
We don't,
ball, man. We
we don't
don't.
know ball. But it will also tell you another thing. This team has figured something out. They were in Champions League football as far as their domestic chase for the Serie A, top four was going. They were falling out of that top four. Both them and AC Milan were struggling. And they're also just looking at in general like a team that was not really all that impressive. I would say leading into the Champions League knockout stages, but here they are. They're in the final. They got past really with the team that we thought would be coming out of the bottom half in Napoli. I mean, I think this Inter Milan team has in general been defier of odds. In comparison, like they're not, I wouldn't say an underdog, but they do defy. I mean, they're anti-Vegas is what I would say at this
Yeah.
point. Because you really aren't, they're not a team you choose to bet on in general. At least this season so far. But here they are in a really golden situation, and I feel like you have to tip your cap to a couple players. First being Andre Onana. He's been their rock. He's been the primary reason that they've been able to make it as far as they have. And in general, I feel like you just have to give credit to the coaching staff for what they've been able to do and how they've been able to figure things out after being in a really low place as a club. And I also want to give credit to a couple players in their midfield. I mean, actually in the attack too, because Lautaro Martinez, he was getting a lot of flack at certain points. Lukaku was getting a lot of flack at some points. Dzeko is getting flack at some points. He deserves a lot of love. You know how I feel about Nicola Barella. I know you feel very similarly. But Chatnoglu's been very good. Mkhitaryan's come
Bro.
in and provided some performances. Their back
United
line of
legend.
Darminian and Acerbi and Bastoni have put in some very quality performances. And they've had a lot of clean sheets in these knockout stages in the Champions League in general. The only one in general that I've been, I would say, disappointed with throughout the Champions League has been Denzel Dumfries. I think
Mm-hmm.
he could have been better in general. And I think he's actually hurt his own potential to transfer this summer if
Yeah.
that's something he
He was
wanted
linked
because
to United.
there was a lot of rumors. Even Tottenham at one point were linked to him,
Mm-hmm.
and at this point I don't know what his value is because I think he's been one of the weaker links in that team down the stretch. But in general, I think they deserve nothing but credit for what they've been able to do, considering where they were like a month ago in terms of our eyes, everyone else's eyes, and really where they were. I know you have something to add, so add that comment, and then also tell me why we should believe in Inter.
I think, well, real quick, I want to bring up the Dumfries chat because he was linked to almost every like relevant club that like needed another defender, if that makes sense. Like Tottenham needed a defender, United needed a defender. I even saw maybe Liverpool or
I
Arsenal.
mean,
Like,
to be fair, Tottenham need like 15 players at
I
this point.
will
So
get into that, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like
yeah, I know what you mean.
anyone that needed a back line, like some like an improvement on the back line. Dumfries was linked to like all those teams. I think the player, because they're kind of similar, like at the right wing back position. I think Jeremy Frimpong is the one that has replaced Denzel Dumfries. Is like, oh, now it kind of makes more sense, right? Like you have a player from Inter, and then you have a player from Leverkusen who's like, looking for that extra, European jump or whatever. Um, why we should believe in Inter? Number one, I think Italian football just gets slept on. When you compare it to the Prem, people have. I think you've been a firm believer that Serie A might be the second best league in Europe. Have you said
I
that?
would say top to bottom, they are.
Okay.
I would say, and also just in general, like if you, I would say they have the most. I mean, look at their European success this season. Yeah, they didn't win anything yet. There's still the chance they win the Champions League. Um, but look how many teams they had participating in big games in Europe. And yeah, like having representatives in all finals and coming away so far as 0-2 is a little disappointing. I mean, it didn't help that they were playing in the Sevilla league and
They're
playing
there.
against Sevilla. Yeah, they were there and they were playing against a West Ham team that really was allocating every single resource they had to that competition, to the Conference League, because they were 14th in the Prem. Why would that? And it's the same with Sevilla. Roma ran into a team that Roma's on the edge of competing for European competition just in the overall table in Serie A, and they
Can't
go
I?
against Sevilla, who just don't they don't have a reason really to try
I
for
can't.
European spots in their own table. So I know you can't. It's okay. I
They're
get it.
gonna.
I know
I
you can.
swear on my life, they're gonna get drawn to Man U's group next year. I swear. I'll put any money if United and Sevilla are in different pots, because I think United finishing in third might put them in pot two in the Champions League. They're definitely not a pot three team, and they're definitely not pot four. So I think they're going to be pot two because they haven't
Do
won
you
the
think
league.
Newcastle are pot three?
They might be pot two with United because well, either way, all English teams cannot play each other in the
Yeah.
group
I was
stage.
just trying to, I'm
I'm not worried about
curious.
like Newcastle City, Arsenal. I'm not
I
really
was
worried
just
about
curious
those.
where we think
No,
they might
but
end up. Yeah.
they're going to either be two or three. Um,
And
it's
Arsenal's too. I know
Yeah, and
Arsenal's
then
too.
Arsenal might be
And I
well.
think they're too.
All the champions go in, and then I don't know how to determine like the regular, like the other layout. I don't know what the
I'm
process
pretty
is.
sure bottlers don't get top pool.
I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. It's a lot of talk for someone that isn't in European football, but I do agree with you.
I
I
mean,
do agree with you.
this team is so. I mean,
Yeah,
to
but
be fair, I mean, I'm at a point now where I have no stakes in European football, so I can talk smack and I don't have to back it up. So that's
mhm,
just gonna be that's where I'm at.
yeah.
I'm like trying to think. I gotta let out my frustrations, you know. Um, Tottenham are gonna be interesting. We'll just leave it at that. But back
So
to like the
yeah,
important
to
topic.
wrap it up, I think we should make our official prediction for the UCL final. Do you want to go first, Sammy?
No, I think you should go
Okay,
first.
I'll go first. I'm gonna go, man, because part of me actually believed that United were in that game in the FA Cup final, but they really weren't. Um, there were some opportunities.
They went on XG.
Yeah, but I mean, scoreboard is the only stat that matters.
Scoreboard.
I'm gonna go 3-1. I'm gonna go 3-1 City. I'm gonna go. I don't know. Holland was very quiet in the FA Cup final. I don't think he will be as quiet in UCL. I think he'll get a goal. I'll go De Bruyne and You know what? He's on great form. Ilkay Gundogan's going to get another. So I'm going to go 3-1 Man City. They're going to get the treble, and they're going to shut up every United fan for at least a couple of months. See
See,
what we
that's
got.
why I personally I don't hate Holland, but hate the comparisons between him and Kane because Holland is a goal scorer. Period. End of conversation. That's what he does.
That's his
And
job.
but in the context of a lot of games, like he'll go completely quiet until like that one
Yeah.
moment comes
They
up for
shut
him.
him. Man, you shut him up. Like
I know.
they were on him like I can't say that, but I was gonna make a really like inappropriate comment, but that's okay. I'm gonna hold back. Um
Like white on rice.
yeah, they were gonna yeah, like flies on crap, let's just say that. But
Think on
like
poo, you know?
yeah, like they locked him up big time and they played well. And the two goals were like both were from outside the box, and like the second one I thought was like all right, like someone could have used like someone could have put the body in front of the ball, and I was like, but other than that, like Holland might have had one chance at the end of the first half. Apart from that, he was invisible. He was invisible. But like it was Gundogan's game, which I'll probably mention him later. And KDB had a decent game, and their defense was pretty solid. I know they played John Stones high as kind of like a hybrid role. Like
It's like
he
a
can
hybrid DM kind
box to
of.
box kind of player. Like it's
Yeah.
interesting. But 3-1. What do you got?
So I think it's going to be 2-1, and I think Inter scores first.
Hmm.
But a 2-1 City. But I
Okay.
think Inter score first. And I think they're going to come out similarly to how they did against AC Milan in that first leg, where they're just going to be like into it. They're going to be pressing, they're going to be aggressive. And I think they'll come away with a goal because City doesn't face teams that press them often. So I think that'll make them a little uncomfortable. I think Pep and the quality of this team will figure it out, and I think they'll settle in. They might even be down 1-0 at halftime. I think it'll probably be 1-1 at half. City will get the winner in the second half. Um, but I do think Inter Milan will have the lead at one point in this contest, and I believe very early on. I think Inter Milan's goal is going to come from Lautaro, and I think City are going to
Hmm.
get a Gundogan and a Grealish goal.
Oh, I completely forgot about Jack Grealish.
I think
Um,
Jack Grealish has been their unsung hero this
yeah,
season. And because don't
he's
get me
a
wrong,
pass too, but like in a good
Gundogan's
way.
been the hero, but
Sneaky.
he's been well recognized.
That is JV
Grealish
Cart.
Grealish, even when he doesn't score this season, has provided a lot of creativity. He is that pest you talked about. He gets in people's head. He rattles them. Like what he did to that Real Madrid back line without even scoring was underrated. He gets undervalued because and people still like I think give him flack for what he did in the first like season in a City kit, which I mean, sure, he was a little bit of a flop in his first campaign, but he's come
Bright
back this
lights,
season and
man.
he's been fantastic. I mean, you transfer for that much money to
It's a lot of pressure.
at the present moment the biggest club right now. They're like in obviously overall they're not the biggest club, but like right now they are the biggest club in European football. And you transfer to them for the sum that you did, there's a lot of pressure and you're adjusting to a new system, to a coach that has a way he likes doing things. You went from being the top dog to a member of 11 players that are all top dogs. Like it's just a very different circumstance. So I think he got a lot of unfair flack this season from probably myself included. But I think he deserves a lot of love for the way he's figured things out this season as well. Yeah.
Really quick, because I know we have to move on. Two things. One, he is what when I say we, I mean United. He's what we wanted out of Alexis Sanchez. Similar position, coming over. Now it was different circumstances, right? Coming from Arsenal to United is a lot different than coming from Villa to United or Villa to City. And the second, for all my hockey fans out there, you're going to like this comparison too. I think Jack Grealish reminds me a lot of Brad Marchand. And I'll say this as well. He gets under people's skin, but he does it in a way that is so effective because he'll back it up with points. Maybe not so last year, but this year. Like I think the production is it's on an upward trend. So that's all I want to say.
Well, he's one of those players too that can like draw a lot of fouls. And I
Yeah, and
think
I
that
wanted to
gets
make a
underrated
hockey.
as well.
I wanted to make a
That's
hockey
fair.
reference
No,
on the
that's
show.
fair.
It's just
That's
it's
fair.
like a an itch, but yeah.
All right. Now you get 45 seconds. Complain about Sevilla. I'll
right.
give you a minute. You have a
Okay.
minute.
Well, I'll be quick.
All right.
Congratulations, I guess. I really wanted Jose to get another trophy. It went to extra time, I believe. Didn't it go to extra time?
Pens.
It
Pens.
depends, right?
I mean, it was a dominant penalty
I can't
performance.
stand when finals are determined by penalties.
I
Going back to
agree. I
Man U
agree. I
Villarreal,
agree.
Europa League final a couple of years ago, I flipped out. De Gea missed a penalty. Like everyone hit a penalty except all 21 of 22 players hit penalties except for David De Gea. I'm like, how does it come down to your goalie missing a pen? Congrats, I guess, Sevilla, another trophy in your case. I can't wait to sleep you guys in the Champions League next year.
Can you imagine having trophies in your trophy cabinet? Couldn't be
Ooh.
me. Couldn't be me. Also, West Ham picked up a trophy. It's in the Conference League. He's
I'm just reading your notes right now. I'm just reading
yeah.
that note. That's
In
pretty funny.
quotations, I have the Conference League title, the I played in Euro football participation trophy. Which to an extent it kind of is, but also it's a
Their
trophy
anthem is
that
sick. Are they the one with the sick anthem? I mean, nothing
I
beats the
think
Champions League
so.
anthem.
I
It's
think
like the
so.
oh no, that might be
Yeah,
Europa League. I think
I
that's
think they're
Europa
all
League.
pretty
They're all pretty
quality, if I'm
good.
being honest.
Champions League's the best one though, most iconic.
Yeah. But I think it's cool for West Ham and for Declan Rice to win one in
Yeah,
this final
Europa
game
League football
there.
next year. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
For the 14th place team in the Prem.
Yeah,
I
but that stadium deserves, like, when you look at capacity and you throw the numbers in, London Stadium deserves a platform like Europe. It really does. I know it's like, oh, it's London,
I
it's one of
mean,
your
doesn't
rivals.
you could argue Tottenham
Tottenham
Hotspur Stadium
does.
does
I think
too,
Tottenham
but
does too. Like I'm saying, but I think when you look at the venues, like it's Old Trafford, it's the Emirates, it's Tottenham. Hopefully they get back there next year. I'm actually rooting for you
Champions
guys.
League final at Luton Town next season
Kenilworth Road. We'll
for
get
the
into them.
Champions
We'll
League
get to,
final.
we'll
That'd be
get into Luton
electric.
Town a little bit later, maybe in a fun segment. We'll see.
Hmm. Um, but all right, that'll wrap up our European
Oh,
talk
here we
there.
go.
Let's
Here's
go to transfers and transfer
best time of the year.
rumors. We're focusing on confirmed moves and retirements first. I'm going to rattle those off. And before we transition to our brief conversation on a certain player coming to the United States, we can talk about a couple of rumors and maybe things you'd like to see maybe Man United do, and on my side, Tottenham do. So first off, these are the things that are confirmed and or fully in progress, going to be confirmed very soon. Loftus-Cheek to AC Milan. Danjuma will not stay with Spurs. He's going back to Villarreal. Felix will not be a Chelsea player. He's back to, well, here. Ugart and Asensio to PSG. So those are kind of
That's sneaky moves.
interesting moves.
Yeah.
I don't really rate Asensio all that much, but like I guess I can understand why
I
people
rate
do.
you know how I rate the Portuguese league though.
Yeah. Yeah. A bit of a sad turn is Zava. I mean, Ibrahimovic retires. I saw this really funny graphic. I forget who posted it.
Is he gonna open up an avocado farm?
No, it was about it was like a fake transfer thing, and it was like Ibra signs for LA Galaxy and like starts. Oh wait, no, was that no, this was so this kind of brief jump towards Ted Lasso. I saw a thing that actually broke down all like the newsstand things in the magazines that were at the end, and one of them was about Zava makes his return and signs for an LA team because they let him start his own like avocado farm or like it was because they have the best like avocado toast or something like that. It was something like those like it was hysterical. But Ibra retires. Good for him. He had an unbelievable career. He's basically, I mean,
one of the best United legends.
I mean, football. Ibra didn't retire. Football retired from Ibra. Liverpool land McAllister, Benzema, and Conte to Al Ittihad, and that's something I want to start with here. Is what are your general thoughts on Saudi Arabia, their league, and taking quite a bit of talent already?
Well, it started with CR7, right? Like you look at leagues over in Asia and they kind of get slept on just because one, the time difference is ungodly. Europe is already a jump enough. Like we start, Champions League for the eastern part of the United States starts at 3 p.m. Eastern time, which is usually 8 in England and all that.
I mean, Premier League games start at like 7 a.m.
That's also true. It's tough. And it's tough for people on the West Coast. Forget about the East Coast.
Yeah. It turns like 4.
But it's, to me, I don't like being ignorant, but it's a money grab. That's all I can say it is. It's I referenced the great Steve Miller Band to the song "Take the Money and Run," right? Because you're not going there for quality. You're not going there for trophies. God no. God no. You're just getting there because the bag is unreal and you're locked up and you're loaded. And usually it's players that are in their mid to late 30s. We're like the one I will be more concerned when a player like in their prime, like a 28, 29-year-old, like look at it right now. Conte's in his 30s. Benzema's in his 30s. Ronaldo's
Say
almost
Harry
40.
Kane goes right now. Like that's when I'm
That's like,
concerned.
whoa, okay, what are you doing? Like what?
Yeah.
So like Benzema's won. Conte's won. Ronaldo's won a lot. Still miss him in a way.
Just
But
not in Saudi Arabia.
no, not even them. Congrats to all. Shout out Odion
Dude,
Igalo,
as I have to say,
United legend.
CR7 is literally like the only, I would say, world class player you can argue Talisca who's on the same team as him in
Yeah,
that league and not winning the league is kind of embarrassing, if I'm going to
yeah,
be
no.
very honest.
Well, I'm surprised, and you were explaining me this concept, how it's like the league purchases your contract, and then it's like, okay, you can go wherever you want in a way, right?
That was the initial like thought with Benzema. I think it ended up being more of an approach with the
With
actual team. But there
between
was like
Al Hilal.
reports that it was initially like the league. And I'm just kind of curious, like there has to be some
Is it Itihad?
involvement. Etihad, I don't know.
Itihad,
I
yeah.
don't even know how to say the teams in France, so I'll worry about that at a
Uh,
later point. But if these leagues got to prove to me that I need to learn their names.
yeah, no.
Um, but like clubs having as much money as they're throwing around, there's allegedly the final offer to what's called Messi was around $1.6
That
billion
was
dollars.
unreal.
So like you can't have involvement from the league or even Saudi Arabia as a whole to be able to throw money around like that. Like I don't know. I am very anti in general. I'm taking the same
I
stance that I
am.
took with Live, I guess. Like I
Yeah.
don't support either of them. And this also comes from a place where I want the MLS to be able to thrive and have players like even if it becomes a retirement league, I would like in my lifetime if I'm not able to go to Europe to be able to go to an MLS game and watch some of these world class players
Hey,
play before they
as
retired, just like you were able to do with Thierry Henry. Like I would like to be able to do that with certain
every
players.
day, every week, I got to see one of the best footballers to me, one of the best, attackers. I would say he's a top 10 attacker of all time. Um, yeah, no, I totally agree with you 100%. You and I want to see, and we'll get into ML, we'll get into Messi in just a couple of minutes, but yeah, I just want to see this country thrive on its soccer. I think it's getting better with its youth. I think the youth is there. The academies have taken a huge jump, but to me, this is all let me just make my wallet a little bit fatter. You're not going there for history. You're not going there for tradition. You're not going there for trophies. What are you going to do? Oh, you're going to win the Asian, was it the AF? What is it? I don't even know what their league is called when they take the teams from Japan and China and Australia and like
Isn't the Continental Cup or something like that?
it's something like that. But like the standard is not the same as I would rank the Europa League higher than that. I really would. Like as a supporter of a team that has won the Europa League before, like I like it. It gets slept on, but the quality is way better. Way better. I guarantee you know, a Premier League All-Star team is going to beat a Saudi League All-Star team. I'll say it with Bundesliga. I'll say it with Serie A. I'll say it with La Liga. Farmers League, you're gonna have to do more. I mean, it might just be PSG, right? It might just be PSG and Openda against the Saudi All Stars. But no, you and I kind of agree on this one.
Yeah. All right. So before we move on to our discussion of Messi, I want to say Man United, they've had a lot of links. I want you to give me your top three players you would like them to be able to bring in and keep it relatively short because we want to be short with this episode in general.
One, Kim and Jay.
I think that one's already seems pretty solid.
I love Kim and Jay. I need it. We need it. We need. I keep saying we, so I sound French, but United need center back help. And with Maguire leaving, Jones leaving, I think he fills a void. 2, Kolomawani. I want a young, and this is because my third one's also a striker. I think United need 2 strikers. Martial out. If they're going to rely on Rashford, I think Rashford's an everyday left winger for this club now. I don't see him playing number 9 role. And number 3, Harry Kane. I want Harry Kane to thrive. I want him to play on a platform that he deserves to play on. It's no disrespect to your club. The other one was going to be Osimhen, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I would love for it to happen because he's younger. But Harry Kane is one of, if not the most complete striker in the world. Haaland could be there, but I think you kept saying it. Like, I think Kane is a better overall player. Now,
I think complete's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Like, you could argue
goal scorer.
Yeah, you could argue Haaland could be a better striker, but in terms of a footballer, Harry Kane is better.
Yeah, I could have gone with a center mid, like Mason Mount coming in. Sure, it's cool. Is it a need? No, I'm looking at needs. Like even a goalkeeper, Diogo Costa from FC Porto is one link that I love to see. But I'll ramble about United. I want to hear 3 for Tottenham now with no European football. Where do you go?
So I think 1, they should sell Kane. Because if you let him walk for free next season, you are wasting so much potential revenue.
Yep.
It really is. And especially because I don't see him coming back without European football. And I don't know how Tottenham gets European football given the current state right now. I want them to bring in Maddison. They need a creative midfielder. I think they need a center back. Realistically, the options that I would want them to bring in aren't realistic without Champions League football. So if they could bring in a player like Laporta, that would be good.
Whoa.
I think that would be a solid center back to at least help. I just sincerely don't want to watch Eric Dyer play ever again.
Pizza man.
If I have to watch him or Sanchez play in a Tottenham kit, I'm going to be in shambles. Like, this will be the most depressing podcast ever to listen to. The final player could go a couple different ways, but I'm thinking about what does Tottenham really need? They have their wingbacks. They would need to replace Harry Kane. The unfortunate thing is I would want it to be Ivan Toney, but that's got its own complications right now.
I was a big Ivan Toney guy.
Yeah, so I don't really know who I want them to go after. This is going to be a bit of a reach because I think he would want Champions League football as well, but maybe Vlahovic is an option if they get the money from selling Harry Kane. I think he could potentially fill in and thrive in that role because it would also allow Son to play with the ball a little bit more because Vlahovic isn't maybe as ball dominant or facilitating friendly, and I think Son will be a little bit more confident maybe. So I think that's probably the route I would go, but it would be to replace a striker in general, as long as it's not Buffet, of course. Okay, so for what I'm about to say, I hope Maddie Mushkin listens to this podcast. But Messi to Miami. I had to call back. What does this mean, Jeremy, for the MLS?
Well, you know me. You know that I've been very passionate about the MLS as a whole, you know, my loyalty to the Red Bulls and to my team in my backyard and to this league, I think in general. This is the beginning of a new era for Major League Soccer. When the MLS acquired David Beckham, I don't say the Galaxy, but when the MLS got David Beckham, it was a big deal, right? Then they added Robbie Keane. If you don't know who Robbie Keane is, he was a striker for Ireland, and he played in the Prem and in Europe, and he was a great goal scorer. Then there was a point where the Red Bulls kind of got involved. They got Tim Cahill. They got Rafa Marquez. They got Thierry Henry. As you all know, some of the best memories I've ever spent as a Red Bull fan were seeing those teams play. Then when I say city, New York City got involved. They got Andrea Pirlo. They got Frank Lampard. They got David Villa, David Villa is probably the best player to ever wear a New York City FC jersey right now. Schweinsteiger, Xherdan Shaqiri to an extent. This tops all of that. You are getting the Michael Jordan. You are getting the Wayne Gretzky. You are getting Tiger Woods. You are getting the best athlete in the sport in the United States of America. And he had options. He sure did. He could have joined the Saudi League for what Sammy previously mentioned. Over $1 billion, was it $1 billion or $1 billion like in their currency or whatever it was? To me, this was the best option for Lionel because of everything else that can happen outside of football. Right? There's the deal with Adidas going on with the kit sales and all that. Like again, it's a grab, but it's not as big of a grab as it would have been to go to the Saudi League. This move is revolutionary. I think Messi begins the influx of European talent. Now, again, it's going to come in their latter parts of their careers. But when you get the greatest player of not only our generation, but arguably the greatest player to ever do it, there's no stopping it. And to me, there's still time for CR7 to jump over to America. There's still time. There's still time. In a dream world, I think Ronaldo ends his career in Harrison, New Jersey. That is my dream world, just because of the demographics that we have in New Jersey, and over the bridge is, Ironbound Newark, which is a big Portuguese population. And if you get Ronaldo and Messi in MLS, that to me is, marketing galore, right? But I think the stock in MLS just grew big time. Big time. And this is how it happens. One player comes, and then the rest will follow. It's how it's happened before. It started with David Beckham. This was the benchmark. And it's only gotten better. The talent got better. Henry, Lampard, these are legends. Schweinsteiger, to me, one of my favorite players of all time. The reason I wore number 13, because it was 31, backwards. This is the start of something new, to quote High School Musical.
Well, just to add another quote, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And it seems, first of all, that this is Messi investing in the MLS as much as it is the other way around.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's also why he chose not to go to Saudi Arabia, is because he is picking to invest himself, his time, and his kind of future potential revenue in the MLS. The other thing is, I also just see it like I know this isn't the reason, but very subtly, this is kind of like a spite. Like, I'm gonna go and help another league get talent versus Saudi Arabia League, which is what CR7's like.
You think it's part spite?
I don't think it is, but in my own just wanting to just think about drama in general, just because those two are always competing against each other. I'm just let's see who's a better recruiter. Let's see who can help build a better league, I guess. Excuse me. I think in general, the MLS in Miami are just going to profit. It's going to be profit galore. There, as you mentioned, is going to be draws for European talent, but especially being a point where a lot of former Messi teammates are on the end of their careers, retiring, etc. You could see some former Barcelona players also coming over to the MLS. And I also think that this timing is very interesting, with the World Cup also being in 2026. So I think there's just a lot going in the US's favor, and it'll be very, very interesting to see how it plays out. Personally, as a Boston Celtics fans, I hated that he went to Miami. I think that was the worst possible destination for him. Just for my own pettiness, I think it was probably realistically the best option for him.
It was the best.
But for my own pettiness, yeah, I think it was the worst option. The other thing that he mentioned at one point for his reasoning was when he was in Paris, he was unhappy and he missed a lot of his own kid's life. And I think what you get out of the MLS is maybe a little bit more of a flexible league that'll allow you to kind of, and I could honestly see Neymar ending up actually in the MLS because it just gives you more flexibility.
Bring him to Harrison.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like this would be a good league for him because if they can overall improve the talent a little bit, then Neymar still gets to compete and he gets to enjoy that kind of lavish lifestyle that he enjoys. And in the Messi, he's far closer to his family, to Argentina, now that he's in America versus in Paris. Like, I just think in general, this league offers a lot of potential, especially for players maybe in South America that are kind of on the end of their careers, which I think could be very cool. But all right, let's move on to something that maybe had an equivalent emotional value, just
Oh,
in a different
jeez.
way. Ted Lasso. So first things first, I still hate Nate, and I was hoping this past episode was going to resolve this. It didn't. And my issue wasn't that he didn't apologize. He didn't apologize for anything. He said he's sorry and he cried. He didn't admit his own wrongs. And when it comes to apologies, that's something I stand by. If you don't admit and own up to the things you've done wrong, you are not forgiven. Yes, Ted is literally like the nicest person ever imagined or created in television history. So he's going to forgive him.
Mhm.
But as far as a viewer, I can't get past the fact that Nate never admitted and said exactly what he did wrong, which was multiple things. So for me, Nate still shouldn't have been accepted at Richmond. Personal opinion. I think that was like them going from literally like everyone on the team getting a red card from watching him tear down the poster to immediately like having players go and ask him to come back. I think it's just way too. I hated that personally. Again, it's because I don't like the character and I hate Nate. But I also just think that kind of doesn't make any sense. That's like way too drastic for Flip. Personally. But yes, I was emotional. Yes, I cried quite a bit during that episode
Mhm.
for the last 5 minutes at least. Cried I think 3 times, but like the last one counts for like 2 or 3 because it was just perpetual sobbing. Um, so I don't know. My other thing is like I love that Roy became the head coach.
Yes.
I love that Beard stayed and how he stayed. Him on the plane, that was great.
First of all,
Um,
did not think his name was Willis.
yeah, I think Willis fits actually. I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, I love the way Rebecca and how she was gonna sell or not sell the club ended up unfolding. I love May like with her stack of shares at the end of the episode. I like that. I like that they ran Nate's play at the end to win,
Mhm.
and Jamie like imitated Ted like as the decoy. I love
Yes, I'm
that. Um, I also think the other thing. This was the other thing that I noticed that was in that video that explained what was in the magazines and the newspaper. Shandy's sex app is going crazy apparently. Like it's like
Mhm.
the biggest thing. So I hate that she was succeeding at the end of that episode too,
Yeah,
because she was like just as bad as Nate as far as I was concerned. But yeah, I think that's my generalist takeaways. I'm just disappointed with the third and second to last episodes, the way they changed the pacing and flubbed the pacing and like kind of rushed this Nate coming back to Richmond thing. Like, I just think there were a couple things that really, just as Game of Thrones did to me in the very ending, like, I just feel like there was just wasted opportunity.
I get that. For me, it's, I mean, I think the best part of that um episode was the wrap up, like putting everything, putting a pin in everything in every situation, whether if it was, Beard and Jane getting married, Roy being named head coach. Um, I think I think this season it has gotten a lot of slack. You can't compare it to season one was impeccable. Season one of Ted Lasso was some of the best writing I've ever seen as a fan and a consumer of not only TV but comedy as well. Like I love comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I love anything that can make me laugh. Because I try to emulate that. Like I like making people laugh. Whether if it's doing impressions or walking in front of cameras, like I try to do that. Um, I think in this episode we really got to see a human side of Ted. Ted's been this walking like, oh hey, like very clever person with all these sayings and sayings like Higgy Smalls, I'm all good, baby, something like that. But we really get to see him be a human. And um, me personally, I even though he was split up with Michelle, I can't imagine being away from my son for that long. Like I get sad, when I move away and I go away to school and it's like, I miss my parents, right? Like I know it's a little bit different, but we really get to see human side of Ted. I'm gonna miss him. Ted was a big part of my life. Not to get like super emotional, but like he was an outlet for me. And not only the show, but to him, like getting to consume a person like that every week really made me like look forward to the next day. Like I got to look forward to Tuesday nights, really Wednesday. But having Ted in my life was some of the best times. It got me through COVID. It got me through, um, finishing up undergrad. It got me through a point where I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was working retail and, getting to watch Ted Lasso really put a smile on my face. And having my mom be a fan of it was also pretty cool. I tried to get my dad into it. He got through like 4 episodes and was like, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, they talk so fast and I don't understand what they're saying sometimes. I go, yeah, I watch every episode with subtitles. Don't get me wrong. But it's some of the best art of the 21st century, in my opinion. And I don't know if there'll be a show, a sports. It wasn't really, it was a sports show, but like it was more than sports to me. And I don't know if there'll ever be a show like Ted Lasso. If I keep talking, I'm gonna make myself cry just because I'm gonna miss it. But
Well,
but
to make you laugh, let's think about that performance, their goodbye performance at the end of their
oh
last
my
practice.
God,
Oh my
hold
God,
hold
it was
on,
a
hold on. As someone who has been a part of the Sound of Music, that was impeccable. That was great. And I got to if you go on if you're on Apple TV,
Danny
you're on
and
Apple
that.
TV Plus, you can actually see the behind the scenes of them recording. It's their real voices. It's just they had to sing it. It's not them like
Yeah.
singing it right there. They had to go into a studio and sing it. So all the guys sang it. Danny sang it. Phil
Danny in
Dunster, who
that
plays
whole that
Jamie.
oh
Yeah,
so good.
I'm glad he got to play the role of Gretel. If anyone can play Gretel, where it's like the sun has gone too bad,
Yeah.
like I'm glad it was Danny. It was either gonna be Danny or Sammy.
Also, their
But it's
reaction when they
but
finished and like it was
like
successful.
yeah, it was
Oh
perfect.
my God, I
Yes, and
loved it.
Zoro was just like yeah, but no,
Oh,
it was impeccable. It reminded me the same energy of when Rebecca's mom visited. I love the way Ted just says, Rebecca's mom. Like it's just like the best. Like
yeah,
I love some of the best scenes are on the practice pitch. Underrated scenes. You
yeah,
get to see that number, Rebecca's mom and the high Ted when they're saying it to Rebecca, and then you get to see Led Tasso. Um,
yeah.
Led,
The
Led
anti
Tasso is
Ted.
awesome. Oh, he's great. But yeah, it's 3 seasons is a perfect amount for that show, and I will definitely be rewatching it very, very soon.
I think they were 2 episodes short. I think
That's
if they made
fair.
the second and third last episodes into four instead of two, I wouldn't be complaining. I think that's my general opinion. Um, yeah, I think we should put a bow on it, move forward. Hopefully, they make some spin-offs that we can later talk about. We're gonna have to figure out what
Okay,
else we're talking about.
real quick, did you see um Apple TV? I don't know if you follow Apple TV's
They
account
already
on
posted
Twitter.
a little like the future's bright or whatever with those
Smells
three.
like potential, and
Yeah.
it's Nate, Roy, and Beard looking up at the sign, and I'm like, okay, are we gonna get like The Office without Michael Scott kind of deal? Like,
Well, that was a flop, so I hope not.
well, yeah, but I'm hoping is it? They're not gonna call it Ted Lasso. They can't because he's not gonna be in it. Like, I think if you're doing it, Ted's not in it, and he appears like at the last episode or something like that. If he comes back, it's gonna be like Richmond or AFC Richmond or Richmond till we die, something like that. Um,
Richmond in
but
Europe, baby.
dude, I wanted European. We got the Amsterdam episode. That was pretty
Dude,
cool.
I wanted, after seeing the Pep interaction, I wanted Ted and Jose so bad.
Oh my God.
That would have
Ugh.
been the greatest interaction
I
in
don't know
television
this.
history.
I don't know much about Talasso. Like, it's just I want him like in a press conference, like, who is
It
this Talasso you speak of? Like, I prefer not to speak on Talasso.
would have been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But all right, let's move on. Fun finish, abbreviated version. We're just doing 4 segments today.
Yeah.
Moment in history, 3 stars. Really, no point in doing locks because there's 1 game left. The random team and our debate. So, Jeremy, kick us off here.
Okay, so in this day in history, so on June 8th, 1990, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon pull off one of the greatest upsets in soccer history. They defeated Argentina 1-0 in the first game of the 1990 World Cup. You look at that Argentina team, it was headlined by, again, I call Messi the greatest of all time, but one of the greatest distributors and just overall ballers is Diego Maradona. And
Maradona.
Maradona. And like that team that won in, I believe they did win in 86. It was either Argentina or Brazil at that time. I think Argentina, do they? I forget how many stars Argentina has on their badge. But I love upsets, and I actually love when African nations really dominate at the World Cup. There's potential with Africa. You see teams like Cameroon, like Senegal, like Nigeria. They have some ballers on those teams. So the World Cup is really their one big platform. So that's my this day in history. Now my 3 stars of the week. Number one, I'm going to start with Ilkay Gundogan. He single-handedly defeated Manchester United to win the FA Cup for Man City. So congrats to him, I guess. Number 2 is David Moyes, Declan Rice, and West Ham defeating Fiorentina for the Conference League. Sevilla will not be on this list. Shocker. And number 3, shout out to Kenilworth Road and Luton Town for getting into the Premier League, because I want to see Darwin Núñez shank a ball that breaks, Grandma Georgina's window in the kitchen or something like that. Like, I want to see that happen. So they're going to have to put in £10 million to improve their stadium. But shout out to Luton Town. Sammy already thinks that Tottenham are going to drop 2 games to Luton Town next year. So I'm excited for them, for Burnley, for Sheffield to come back up, and welcome back to the Prem.
Spurs, they're gonna beat City and then go away to Luton Town and lose. I can just see it now. Oh my god, I hate it. I love it for Luton Town, but I just knowing Spurs,
Right.
The optimism for my Tottenham outlook isn't very high, so most of my thoughts and emotions are going to come out against Arsenal and other London clubs. It's just how I'm going to vent. So just going forward, that's just to expect it. I will say honorable mention to Sean Dyche for keeping up Everton.
Sean Dyche, yeah, I love Sean. He's such a great man.
All right, Jeremy, enter the Thunderdome. One more to last time during the actual season.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
Mine.
MLS.
No.
Bundesliga.
No.
Prem.
No.
Serie A.
Yes.
Okay.
Cease. You have 6 left.
Did this team finish in the relegation zone?
They did not.
Okay. Did this team finish in a spot for European football? So that's 1 through 7. Okay. Okay, it's tricky. Does this team have the color red in their badge?
They do.
Okay, so that eliminates Spezia, Lecce, and Police as well. Does this team have an animal in their badge?
They do not.
Okay, so that eliminates Torino and Salernitana. Does this team have purple in their badge?
No. Last question.
Okay. Does this team associate with Oscar Mayer?
Yes.
Is it Bologna? Let's go. Let's go.
Not the question. Was not what I was expecting you to say.
My Bologna. Shout out. We're
Well, it
not
was
in
down. It
France.
was down to Bologna and Monza. Yeah, is that what you had it
Yeah,
down
it was
to?
Bologna Monza. Yep.
Um, God, that was not the question I expected. Okay,
Let's ride.
debate topic. What
Okay.
club has the most to lose if they flop this summer? With the preface of it can't be Chelsea and it can't be Tottenham because I feel like those are
Okay.
two very obvious choices that like they can't fumble this offseason.
Yeah, no.
Um, you want me to go first? I don't know if you've decided here. I know you're him and then
I
Holland.
have like ideas, but like,
You want me to go?
yeah, sure.
Juventus.
Okay. Tell me why.
I think this, I mean, one, they're going to be sellers for the most part. Um, they were able to just sneak into the Conference League. But you don't get that much of a financial benefit for playing Conference League football. Um, they're used to so much more. Juventus itself, historically, is so much more. Um, so they're at a point now where they're kind of, I would say, in general, on the outside, on the other side of all of their issues, their allegations, all those problems, they're at a point now where they have to succeed. Like they have to find a way to right the ship. And they were a team that won a lot of games. I mean, they had the fourth most wins in the league. It's just that point deduction really hurt them, obviously. If they didn't lose those points, they would have been a top four team. I believe they would have finished third if they hadn't lost their points, maybe fourth. So they're one of those teams that, like, if they flop this season after having to possibly sell maybe a Vlahovic and a couple other pieces just to kind of figure out and balance their checks, like, this is a team that could really struggle next season. It's also a team that could really click and figure things out again because they weren't a bad team this season. It was just a team that lost points because of some problems they had in the past couple seasons, and a team that lost some very questionable games as a result of when that news came out. So I think they really have to hunker in and have a clear vision as to what they want to do. As someone who roots for Tottenham, I don't know about much about clubs that have clear visions about what they want to do. But I think that's really what Juventus have to do. They have to narrow in, figure out what is the goal right now. How do we get back on track to being Juventus? And that's why they're my choice there.
I'm gonna agree with you, but I'm gonna just like point out some teams that really need to make some moves and like kind of get back to some, their standard and whatever. Because to me, you hit the nail on the head with Juventus when I look at this, debate topic. But you look at a team, you look at other teams like Liverpool. Like I think Liverpool have a lot of work to do to get back into top four. I know they have.
I
They
think they have
have.
midfield work to do, personally.
Yeah, no,
I,
and they just started with that with an absolute bargain. Let's not forget, like this is a bargain getting McAllister for 35 million pounds, like
yeah.
unreal. Um, I look at a team like Dortmund who are gonna have to replace Jude Bellingham soon. I think it's pretty much inevitable that Jude Bellingham will be going to Real Madrid. So having to replace their like and Marco Reus is an aging wonder. Let's be real here.
Could
But
argue PSG too, because
yeah,
I
like
mean, this next season's their sales pitch to keep Mbappe. Otherwise, he walks. I mean, not every team wants him, or every team that has the wallet that could pay
Madrid.
for him wants him. So I also, depending on the sale of United, their hats in the ring, man. I as much as like it's like if you say it, it comes as a homer thing. Like if the sale goes through, not the partial buyout, but the full buyout to the Qatari group, they will have the funds if they can find some type of Champions League success.
Oh my
I don't think
god.
it would be against, like, I don't think it would be a poor decision to
Nope.
have Holland and Mbappe in a Manchester derby. Like, think
Oh
about that. That would
my
be
god.
unbelievable.
Dude, you
Um,
have no idea what I would do. Like I freaked out when United re-signed Ronaldo. I remember I was getting blood work done. I was at a doctor's office and I literally like was waiting for my mom to come pick me up and I just yelled out like, yeah. Casemiro gave me very hope. I was excited for Bruno. What Mbappe would do to United, I don't even know. Like I'd be on a bender. I'd be at Kitty Hoynes down in a
United,
couple.
United, United.
I'd be down in a couple pints at the pub here, but
Yeah.
um, No, I mean, your sales pitch just Holland and Mbappe, NBC Sports, Manchester
Manchester
Derby,
Derby, FA Cup final. Like, imagine that. Like,
and United are relevant ones. I mean, they're still relevant. Like I think Eric Ten Hag is slowly bringing that standard back. There's just a little bit more work to be done, and a big part of it is selling the club, in my opinion.
they can find some stability at right wing, figure out like a long-term answer there because Anthony hasn't proven he deserves that yet. You would have a front three of potentially Mbappe, Rashford, and whatever that future investment is. Like you could
Oh
have a
my
seriously successful
god,
look forward, and then looking at the
Osimhen
potential
or Harry
midfield as
Kane.
well.
This
I
is
mean, it
neat.
depends on if I don't know. I don't know if you'd want to play Mbappe out wide on the right, but it'd be kind of personal preference, I guess.
Yeah, no, you can
Um,
go when
um, but yeah, I think that PSG is another club that really can't flop this season, especially if they have any real hope of. I think next season, League One is going to be the most competitive it's been, but it's also going to be the most boring possible league to watch because there's just going to be no like you're not going to have Messi and Neymar in that league. Their
no.
sales pitch drops drastically. But any final comments there? Obviously, we still need a quote from you, Jeremy. Our final Ted Lasso quote. I mean, the last episode gave us some a lot of potential. Um, I just hope it has nothing to do with Nathan Shelley. Whatever quote you do have for us. I still can't get over how much I despise Nate as a character. Like he, for me, and I know this is an outlandish take. Like he's in that Bellatrix Lestrange, Dolores Umbridge category as far as like TV personality characters that I just despise.
Keep
Like
keep
I,
keep talking for a bit, actually, because I want to find this quote. Man, what is it? I
all right, all right. I'll rant about Tottenham for a few minutes.
Okay.
Just to keep things rolling here. Spurs, man, where do I start? So I don't hate the signing of that their new manager. So you bring him over. He won at something. He's found some success. The problem is he wasn't your first, second, or I believe third choice. So you've already settled and it's your manager. The wallet better be opened, dumped out upside down, and I do not want a single penny remaining in that wallet. Spurs have to do something. They have to bring in legitimate talent. And especially if they sell Harry Kane, they have to produce a European quality starting 11. They have to have the type of offseason like Manchester United had last season that really fixed a lot of their weak points. Ideally, I'm seeing two starting caliber center backs if you're going to still run a back three, because Romero will start. I mean, if you bring in Laporta and another quality center back, Pau Torres is still on the market. If you could bring in possibly those two, that would be two dream. You bring in two Spanish center backs, that'd be ideal. You got your wing backs figured out. You bring in a goalkeeper. I didn't mention that earlier, but David Raya has been someone they've been linked to pretty consistently. That
Same
would be a
United.
very solid replacement. Because with Hugo Lloris going, and if you're going to even consider playing Eric Dyer for
Is he going
two
to Saudi
minutes,
League?
I believe so.
Okay.
Um, so if you're going to have Eric Dyer potentially play any second of football at center back, you need a world class goalkeeper. It's really just your only option because Pizza Boy is not going to do anything. Um, your midfield needs some creativity. I think Basuma is going to be a step up next season because he was very good in the last couple of games when he came back from injury. Obviously, Bentancur proved what he could do when he was healthy this season. So if you bring in a creative midfielder, your midfield's figured out. Just comes out to what your attack is going to look like. And you're going to have to replace Harry Kane. Hopefully, Sonny finds his form. And Kulusevski needs to develop his game. He needs a deeper bag of tricks. He became very predictable at the end of the season. So again, that's really where I'm at. So Jeremy, are you ready now?
Yeah, my PS4 actually just turned on, which is a little alarming, but that's okay because I think I'm gonna go play some
Ghosts.
FIFA after this.
Ghosts.
So it does come from the last episode, shocker, right?
Yeah,
And it is from the man himself.
upset.
Oh, rest in peace.
No.
I know folks like to say there's no place like home. That's true. But man, there ain't a whole lot of places like AFC Richmond either. Ugh, waterfall.
There ain't a whole lot of places like the 90 plus 2 podcast I'm Sammy St.Jean. That's Jeremy Serrano. That was a good transition, right?
That was really
And this is
good.
the
Good
crossroads
segue.
between pundits and fans. We are aspiring soccer journalists who have a love for the game, and this is our starting point. That was in episode 11. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you guys next week.
Thank you.